Hi gang, we have a comparison video to do today. This is going to be something in between a first impressions video and a head-to-head. So we are going to be comparing arming swords today. We're going to be comparing the Balaur's Arm Knight Templar arming sword from the in-house brand from Cult of Athena versus the Albion. This is the Albion new line Gaddhjalt arming sword. So unlike usual, we are not going to spend a lot of time going over the history of the swords and the minutia detailed side-by-side comparisons. That will be saved for a later video, so we will go over that at a different time. But sometimes I know when I go into these long videos, someone says, just get to the end. I want to know how they compare and which one's going to perform better. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a handling and comparison test. So if you just want to know which of these swords performs better, you're in luck today. That's exactly what we're going to do, some backyard testing. So these two swords are available right now. This one costs $600 less than this one, but you can see that they are basically exactly the same size. They are of a very similar type. These are early period arming swords. They are quite long. They have similar handling characteristics. I will put up the weapons dynamics of them. Since I've taken the time to measure them, they balance incredibly similarly. So we'll see how they handle. But compared to other arming swords, so if I put these two down, everyone is perhaps a little bit more familiar with the Kingston arms. This is perhaps a more standard type of size that arming swords are used to. And so here, let me just actually take a time and go through an arming sword drill real fast and do 4 cuts. So if I come down, down, reverse, reverse, 1, 2, that goes pretty fast. If I swap it out for the Balaur arms, by comparison, oof, oof. I really have to be a little bit more deliberate with my motions. 1, 2, 4, 6. So these, even though they're still nimble enough to be manipulated even from the wrist, they have a lot more deliberate attention out in the blade because of how long they are. So they're going to deliver very potent cuts. So since we're interested in cuts, let's see what we can do today. This sword is on loan to me from a friend, this Albion, and it's the first time I'm cutting with it. So again, this is something of an exploratory experience, but we'll put it through the paces, and I'm very curious to see how the much cheaper sword does by comparison, since they're such similar swords. So let's test it against some light targets and just see how well the much more affordable sword can hold up. So here's a target that I wouldn't usually do. This is freestanding cardboard, and it's quite thick. Yep. There we go. All right. So you can see that this was a very thick piece of cardboard that I can't even deform by hand, and it was able to very cleanly go through it. It's a shorter stock now, but I'm curious if the Albion will be able to do the same thing. We'll give it a try. All right, Albion. Man, listen to that blade sing. So basically, let me see where it caught. Looks like pretty much just as easily the Albion went through, and that was even harder because it wasn't as longer or as heavy a target. So there's less inertia in the cardboard box at that point for it to go through. Not too shabby. Templar versus the Templar versus the milk bottle. Well, it didn't stay up, but even using the false edge cut, you can see that it made a perfectly clean strike. Let me see. There's a little bit of water left. The jug is not going to want to stay on, but just out of curiosity, let me see if I can still make a cut against it. And I did. So because of how sharp the blade is and how much leverage this long edge allows, even against an almost empty milk jug, it was able to perform very well. Let me see how many strikes we can get against this one. I'm just going to try and do a couple decapitating strikes. My poor stand is a little wobbly today. That last time I didn't cut deep enough, so I only cut with the tip. I've struck with the last maybe 4 inches of the blade, and you can see where it passed through here and it caught the edge and it pulled the whole jug over. And once again, there's just a little bit of water left, so waste not. And was able to just take the top right off, but still dislodged it. All right. Albion's time to shine. Gaddhjalt. I love the noise that makes. It's got a different sound than the Balaur arms. I batted it away that time. Stay on target. Stay on target. All right, not quite as sharp, but a little bit easier to swing. Going against slightly denser plastic. Very easy, only minor scooping. And now going against quite heavy plastic. I put too much effort into that one. So you can see I cut it very close to the cap, which has incredibly thick plastic. That's where blades can get damaged. And even so, it passed all the way through with basically no problem at all. Let's see if there's enough water in there to get one more cut out of it. Nope. Oh, actually, I said nope, but it basically cut 90% of the way through, even this very thick, very hard plastic target. Back to the Templar to do the same. So it traversed a little bit of a wobbly line, and I've said before that this blade has a lot of flex, and it's possible that I'm seeing the undulations within that. It's also possible that it's just not traveling fast enough, and that's causing scooping. This isn't really the characteristic shape of a scooped cut, so it's possible that something else is at play. But the point is, it still went right through the very thick plastic without any problem. A small thick bottle. Well, that's very interesting. Once again, it looks like it went in, and then the bottle turned, and then it scooped its way all the way out. That time, it's a bit of a scooped strike against this thicker target. Final test I'd like to do is against this big stalk of bamboo I cut down. It's about 6 meters tall, and at this section it's maybe 3 or 4 centimeters across, and it's starting to yellow. And this is the arming sword that I used to chop it down. It took quite a bit to get it down. And just to put it in perspective, so if I give it a whack, it's like I didn't even get all the way through in one spot here. So I suspect even if I hit it whole hog with the other swords, we're not going to make it all the way through. So this is going to be one of those things that'll test the inertia of the blades and perhaps how much it'll bite into the surface, because the tendency is for the blades to just kind of skip down the surface of the bamboo and not actually bite and go in. If one of them makes it all the way through, that'll be something to see, but I suspect I'm just going to be measuring how deep into the bamboo they cut. So let's take a look. We'll start with the Albion. All right, I'm going to take a step and cut, and I need to cut right on my center of percussion. Whoop. Whoop. Hey, look at that. So it didn't cut completely cleanly through. Oh my goodness gracious. My bamboo is so big. It cut, I'd say we made it probably 60 or like 60% of the way through, and then the weight of the bamboo crumpled the rest, and it made it out the back, and the whole thing just collapsed. Now, hang on, let me put the sword down. So on further inspection, it cut almost all the way through. It cut like 70 or 80% of the way through, and then just the back section was just in strips, barely held together. So it made a really big chunk on this incredibly thick, incredibly tough bamboo that you usually have to saw through. Let me reset. This section is still about as thick as the section that we cut, so it should be reasonably fair. Okay. Now time for the Balaur arms. Step and cut. Step and cut. Whoa. Don't fall away from the tree. There you go. All right. Step and cut. Step and cut. Hey! Okay. So this one did essentially the same thing. It cut, let's say, if not 80% of the way through, like 85 or 90% of the way through, and then it broke. So there we have it. In summary, this is a really flattering comparison for a sword that is $400 next to a sword that's $1,100. They handle very similarly. In the hand, there's no doubt that this one is more comfortable just because of how I'm holding it around the grip. So I can, just by closing my eyes and holding the two, this one feels like I'm driving in a high-end luxury vehicle compared to this one. That said, how they handle and how they cut are very, very similar. So if you're looking for something like this, but cannot afford it, and you can only afford this, I think that you will be pleasantly surprised. The Balaur Arms really performs well and is hitting way above its weight as far as price point is concerned. Hope everyone enjoyed this one. We'll be back for a full review of it in the not too distant future. Take care, guys.